Because in the past we've had confusion, we've had questions that students say that they can't get answered. This is a perfect opportunity for you to get clarification on the expectations of the scholarship or what guidelines you're going to be expected to follow. Sometimes this year we have 430 students that we're managing. There's 3 counselors. We're a very small staff, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you and as easy as possible for us to disperse your check so that you have a really successful academic year. With that said, I really want to remind COD students. How many of you guys are COD students? I want to remind you guys that one of the key expectations is that you're enrolled full-time. So you must have 12 units. If that does not happen, we cannot disperse your check. And along with that, you'll have to follow through on the forms that we require and so on. University students, I know some of you guys are far away right now, and that's okay. You're taking classes. That's exactly where we want you to be. That's exactly what we want you to be doing. Those who are here, I would highly encourage you to take care of all documents that you must turn in to us before you leave. And the only reason I say that is because there's nothing worse than being about 8 hours away or whatever distance and not knowing if you've submitted your forms or when your check is going to come in. So we cannot clear you. What that means is we cannot say go ahead and disperse a check if you have not submitted all required documentations. And those are not expectations that we set upon you. Those are expectations of our funder. And so we're kind of the medium, you know, the mediator, the person in the middle kind of telling you, please turn in, and then the other person telling the CAF person, well, we haven't had everyone turn in. So at this point, we're hoping that this orientation will clarify what it is that you all need to be doing. It's not very hard. It's a couple of OG forms. It's grades. It's units. You should be able to do it. I know some renewals are here. How hard is that?
It honestly doesn't take very long.
What? OG form takes you what?
Like
10
10 minutes max.
minutes max, exactly. Grades?
You just take a screenshot, like 5 minutes max.
So it's just basically not ignoring it. And then not having us hound you, because then it seems like I'm emailing you every other day. Turn this in, turn this in, turn this in. That's not my role. That's not Alex's role. That's not what we want to be doing for you. What we really want to be doing for you is helping you have a wonderful academic experience, supporting you, helping you network when you're back in the Valley. The other thing I want to remind students is we have a calendar of all our events already lined up in our website. So you can actually take a look and see if there's anything that you all want to do throughout the year. And one of the things that I tell students is that you start prepping for the time that for when you get ready to graduate now. You want to get to know us. You want to get to know people in your field, in your community, because that is exactly the goal of our organization. We want you to get an academic degree, but we also want you to come back and get a job here, right? Because ultimately that is your goal, right? To get a wonderful job, no? And to give half your money to our scholarship program. You're like, no. I wanted to see if you guys were listening or would shake your head. Anyhow, I just really want to remind you guys that those are the couple of things that will change. It's not hard. We try to communicate with you as much as possible. Alex, myself, and we have another counselor that will be coming in. Make sure that you get to know us if you're within our caseload. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I forgot. But other than that, it'll be Alex today, Nubia on the check reimbursement. Pay attention to the check reimbursement piece. We used to say that we were going to give you, not that we said it, we were going to give it to you before, but students had, and we probably didn't give a clear message. The impression that scholarships would be dispersed before you went to college. That's not the case. We reimburse your account. What does that mean? That means that you all have to set up some type of arrangement with your financial aid office, letting them know you're expecting our scholarship For COD students, it's going to be two checks. For university, it's going to be 3 checks. However, this is a key piece, and I know I'm like the one that sounds like I'm scolding you, but I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to tell you this 1, 2, 3 times so that it kind of hopefully becomes clear. If you don't do what you need to do the first semester, we cannot release the second semester. If you do not do what you need to do the first quarter, what does that mean? OG forms, grades, units, we cannot release the second quarter. So every check or every piece of your scholarship that you receive throughout the year is really within your control.
I was gonna give him a piece of advice. Like, it's better to turn in the forms early because then you don't have to, like, right when they send you the email. Like, if it's possible, you should, like, if you have your grades already, then you should send them because you don't want to be worrying about it. Like, I remember one time she's like, "Oh, have you turned in your grades and stuff?" I'm like, "Whoa, weren't those due a long time ago?" She's like, "Oh, okay, I'm glad to hear you say that."
Yeah, exactly. I'll remind you when I have emails. Sometimes I just randomly ask you because I don't run reports every day. But I want to make sure when I have a conversation with you, and I know Alex does too, that we remind you. So know that it is a reimbursement, and that reimbursement is really dependent on you checking off every one of those boxes. You do that, we happily reimburse it. We don't want to keep that money, and we don't want to send it back to the funder. That's not the goal, because then the funder will pull out their support. They'll say, you know, Coachella doesn't need the money. So, you know, with that, please ask questions. If you have any comments to add, you know, those students who have been renewed or who are on Skype and have been renewed and want to add to that, please do. Part of it is just sharing information as student. Part of it is asking the right questions, and know that Alex and myself and Nubia and the Pathway staff are here to really support you. So congratulations. Thank you for being here. Thank you for Skyping in, or actually Uvuing in. Is that the term? Uvuing in. I'm not very high tech, as you can tell. So do you guys have any questions for me just yet? No? If not, that's my 3 minutes. I'll hand it over to Alex.
Okay, cool. So let me take this. Is there a question on the other end?
Is there a question on the other end?
No? Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Good, good, good. All right. So, make sure everything is up and running. You guys ready? All right, here we go. Before we start, and you heard everything that I was going to talk about, so feel free to leave now. No, I'm just kidding. What we're going to go ahead and do, we're scheduled to go till 12, right? But the truth is the 11 o'clock to 12 hour that we have is actually an optional thing. I'm going to be doing a workshop on technology to talk about some of the kind of cool tools that are out there that you have access to that are either free or for reduced costs, stuff that you can use to leverage your resources, your cell phone in particular, resources like Uvu, so that you can go ahead and get some of your work done more efficiently with less stress in your life. You can feel free to stick around for that technology workshop. So one workshop that tends to change a lot because, you know, technology is always changing. And I'm going to be giving that from 11 o'clock to 12. If you feel that you have to take off somewhere at that time, then feel free, because the nuts and bolts of what we're covering is going to be my time here from 10 o'clock to, 9 o'clock to 10. And then Nubia is going to come in from 10 o'clock to 11, okay? So feel free to stop us if you have any questions. All right. So the question is, many of you, who's brand new to this program? Who's brand new? Okay, all right, a couple of you are brand new. So this is going to be old hat for some of you who are returners. Pathways to Success is part of the Coachella Valley Economic Partnership. And how many of you have heard of the Coachella Valley Economic Partnership? Has anyone heard of it? No? Sort of a partnership of Coachella Valley that deals with economics, okay? It's just kind of a giveaway kind of name. And through this partnership, all the cities that are within the Coachella Valley have worked together to go ahead and try to grow and sustain the economies here in this area. But truth be known, we still have one of the most vulnerable economies in the state, if not the nation, okay? Our economy here has been underpinned by three industries. One is agriculture. Agriculture is what it is. People plant stuff, people got to eat. This is not going to change anytime soon. So agriculture is strong here. Another thing is also tourism and resorts. And of course, with the economic downturn, that's a little bit tough. More and more people are beginning to sort of Instead of taking vacations, they're taking staycations. Many folks are actually not coming here as much as they used to. And the other thing, too, is construction. And we all know with the economic downturn and the housing crisis, which is actually the engine behind this economic crisis, is bad debt, bad loans. We see that even across the street here from Cook Street, out by Cal State San Bernardino. We see a lot of vacated buildings, things that are open, ready to be used for businesses, for folks to establish those things, but they are laying empty, and there's a lot of businesses that are shutting down, right? How many of you know people who have had some significant changes in their lives, had to move out, move in with folks because of this economic downturn? Okay, yeah. So it's impacting a lot of us right now, right? So our hope then is to actually grow the economies of the future. The economies of the future here are, let me think, what are they? They are clean technology, that's solar and wind. We got a ton of sun, if you hadn't been able to tell. We got a ton of wind on some certain windy days, that's why we got a bunch of windmills here. We've got good rail systems here, so we're really talking a lot also about supply chain logistics. We're also talking about digital arts, media, entertainment, because we have a long history here with sort of Hollywood and Hollywood types of things back in the heyday, actually. But one of the things that's kind of putting that back on the map is the Palm Springs Film Festival and some of the different things here, trying to, again, attract that kind of industry here. And then the last one is healthcare. There's going to be an acute shortage of nurses and doctors in the future, okay? So those are the things that we're trying to grow. Because what we've found here is that in this valley, we've got a lot of students that have the grades and the desire to go to school, but maybe not the financial means to do so. That's a real significant observation, because the truth is, with some of these industries, like I said, that we're needing to grow, we need to have an educated workforce. We need to have a workforce that has a lot of intellectual capital, and the best way that we can go ahead and do that, the best way that we can develop economically is through education. It's one of our slogans. Education is economic development. So we said, well, and a lot of people said, well, if this is what's going on, let's look at places that can maybe give money for scholarships. And these are one of the bigger ones here, the College Access Foundation of California. They're based in San Francisco. And you know, their original kind of thing that they used to do is, let's say that you had a foundation of some sort and you wanted to give away scholarships. What's your first name? Karina. Say we have the Karina Scholarship Fund, okay? The CSF, okay? And you write a grant proposal to these guys and you say, you know, I want to give away scholarships. And then what they'll say is they'll look at your grant, look at your plan, they'll say, okay, that's fantastic. We're going to give Karina $100,000 to give away scholarships. Fantastic. These guys used to just give money like that just to an entity. What this entity wanted to do, what College Access Foundation wanted to do, was try a region-based initiative, something that's based like on an entire area. And they looked in their own backyard. They looked at San Francisco. They looked in Central California. They looked in Oakland. They looked in a ton of places in LA. They looked in San Diego as well. But what they ended up doing was making the decision to do their first place-based initiative here in the Valley, because of the fact that the Coachella Valley and its history, its long history of partnering across cities to solve problems in common, was something that they liked. And so they liked it so much and had put so much thought and commitment into a place-based strategy that they decided to fund Pathways to Success, $1 million a year, each year for 10 years. This is now the 4th year of the $1 million. So next year we'll get $1 million, the year after that is $1 million, right? And now, with Karina, let's say, Karina, you're an existing scholarship fund here in the Valley. You know, we've got a number of folks. We've got folks who are getting scholarships through the Inland Empire Scholarship Fund. We've got a number of matching partners I'll talk about later. Let's say you want to partner with us, because that's one of our strategies too. It's like, let's partner with folks in the community that are already giving scholarships. So every $1 you give, we match. You're like, you know, I got $100,000 to give. I'm going to match like, you know, $50,000 with you guys. It's like, great. So what we'll do is we'll match $1 for every dollar you put up. So we've essentially turned a pocket of your $50,000 into $100,000 because of the match. So what does that mean? Every one of these years, for the past 4 years, we've turned that $1 million into about $1.6 million. This is money that students in the Coachella Valley do not need to pay back. So it's kind of a fantastic model. It takes a lot of kind of coordination. You heard some of the stuff that Christina was talking about earlier in terms of trying to just get things in. We want to be able to give away the money. But there's also a lot of stuff in the background in terms of coordinating with all of these different partners. Any questions about why Pathways is the way that it is? Because it's just not, it's not just the going across the stage your senior year, shaking someone's hand and getting a certificate or a check and never hearing from those folks again. We're very different in that respect. Okay? This is the team. You saw Christina this morning. That's me. There's Nubia. She's going to come in and talk about the check stuff at 10 o'clock. Sheila Thornton is Vice President for Workforce Excellence, and she's had her hand in a lot of different things here in the Valley. We're talking about sort of the college portion here, the scholarship piece, but she's had her hand in things in high school. How many of you were part of some sort of academy in a high school here? Yeah? She's had her hand in some of those things too. She's also been involved in some of the workings with junior high and elementary schools here in the Valley, because there's sort of a trajectory, right? There's sort of a pathway from the time you start school to get into middle school, high school, and then if you're in high school, not going to college, then are you ready for the job market? If you're continuing on to college, then there's the scholarship portion. And that's kind of what we do. And Ernie Rios is the program director here, okay? Matching partners. This is the thing where I talked about turning $1 million into $1.6 million every year. This year we have over 20 matching partners. And these are just some of the names. I didn't want to put like a ton of logos on this slide. But Desert Healthcare District. Who has a Desert Healthcare District scholarship? Okay, we get a ton of money from the Desert Healthcare District in terms of matching and support. I want to say over $500,000. This is how crucial they see healthcare in the future being in terms of the support that they want to go ahead and match with us. College of the Desert Foundation, the Girlfriend Factor, the Rotary, Dr. Carrion. Anyone here have a Dr. Carrion scholarship? No? Okay. Palm Desert, the Palm Desert campus for Cal State San Bernardino, as well as UC Riverside, okay? This is a significant one here, the UC, UC, I'm a UCSD grad, it just came out like that. The College of the Desert Alumni Association. They give a lot of money for scholarships. They have money coming out for scholarships for students who are coming straight out of high school. And they have money for folks that are at College of the Desert, and they also give money for folks that are transferring out of College of the Desert. Where do you think that money comes from? You'd be amazed. Where do you think that money comes from? The street fair. The street fair. A ton of money is made in the street fair. And what's cool about that is that they turn that money around and give away scholarships. So they have shopping at the street fair has a direct impact on the economic development of kind of, the folks of the future here in this valley. It's fantastic. Okay. Now this is something here that's, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the nature of the program, and these are significant terms. We are a need-based scholarship. We're not merit-based. How many of you know the difference between a need-based and a merit-based scholarship? Go ahead.
Yeah, need-based is just like based on your financial background. And merit-based is just based on grades.
Grades, yeah, that's typically what it is. Now with merit-based scholarships, you can get as much money as you can possibly grab, right? If you apply everywhere, they love to see that your grades are like a 4.5, a 4.6 out of high school, whatever the case may be. You can clean up a lot of money your senior year. How many of you know people when they left high school, they had cleaned up on a ton of scholarship money, okay, based on merit? Now, I'm not saying that the students in our program are not necessarily those folks that have the 4.5, the 4.6, because certainly we do have those students, right? But we are primarily concerned with need. And so this term here, the term up to for these scholarship amounts is significant. As a need-based scholarship program, we can't fund you more than what your financial need is stated in your FAFSA, as well as your aid award letter at your respective school. So let's say you're going to College of the Desert. We know how much it costs to go to College of the Desert, but let's say your financial need is only $1,000. Because by definition, being a need-based scholarship, we cannot exceed your financial need. If it's $1,000, then we will match you at $1,000. Let's say your financial need is $5,000 to go to College of the Desert, okay? Well, we could give you as much scholarship as we can, scholarship money, but it's only up to $2,500. We give up to $2,500 for folks going to College of the Desert and up to $5,000 for folks going to the university. And if you had a very, very strong application, then we could actually give you a scholarship worth 2 years off the bat. Okay, some folks in here might actually have a university scholarship with us that's worth across 2 years $10,000. Okay, so those terms up to, that term up to is very, very important. Also, the nature of the scholarship is competitive. We have over, this year, I think we had over 1,200 applications. And that is comprised of folks that are reapplying. Those are comprised of folks that hear about the scholarship and apply. That's comprised of a lot of folks coming straight out of high school, right? And then what I do as a courtesy is I remind folks who are no longer on scholarship with us that, hey, you know what, you were with us before, please reapply, okay? So you can see that the numbers are going to begin to add up, and a lot of these folks are actually going to have financial need, but we don't have that much capacity. I think this year, good morning, I think this year we've picked up maybe about, I think maybe in the ballpark of maybe 300 folks this year, okay? So it's competitive in nature. Another thing that we consider in this sort of competitive nature is your leadership, involvement, community engagement, as well as your motivation, why you're in school, and what you want to do. One of the other things that we like also is the fact that this is a renewable scholarship. And so if you are with us, we will remind you that your scholarship is up and you have to reapply. How many of you honestly don't know if you have a 1 or a 2 year scholarship with us? Okay. We will remind you from that standpoint of like how many years you have. If you have a 2 year scholarship with us, anyone starting a 2nd year with us right now? Okay. At the end of that 2nd year, we'll remind you to reapply. Okay. What's kind of cool about this is, yes, we've got some matching partners, like Dr. Carrion Foundation. They're essentially a one and done. We match with them. But if you're trying to reapply for Dr. Carrion Foundation, you cannot do that. So what we'll do is we'll invite you to apply to one of the other matching partners that we are with. Okay, and sometimes folks actually have good applications. They might get picked by one matching partner and another matching partner. But maybe one of the matching partners is willing to give you, wants to select you for a 2 year ride versus another entity that might want to do just one. We're working with these partners to make sure that you get the better package. So if you get the 2 year, then that frees up one scholarship here. Does that make sense? That's kind of one of the cool things about this matching partner strategy. And we ask that you go to a WASC accredited or similarly accredited other school, okay? And WASC schools are College of the Desert, a typical 4-year institution. Schools that are not like that are Santa Barbara Business College, Milan, the beauty school. Those are some of the places that we do not give scholarship money to for any students that are going there, okay? Are there any questions here? No? Guys on the web, are you guys doing okay? Hello? You guys doing okay? Yeah. Okay, good. Very cool. All right. Program expectations. Who is in the habit, or actually, maybe here's a better question. Who really doesn't check their spam or their junk mail regularly? Okay. I'm going to invite you to start doing that. I'm going to invite you to start doing that because your school, your program, you know, a scholarship program as well, they might be sending you all kinds of stuff and it might not be getting to you because it's getting spammed out or put in the junk mail folder. So please check that. What we ask also, since we're not a merit-based scholarship, but we do want you to be in good academic standing. We want you to be, at all times, a 2.0 or above student at your respective institution. We also want you to be full-time. We use this notation of 12 units per quarter or per semester in order to maintain your full-time status. Now, for folks that might be going to some private schools, like a place like a Pitzer, or whatever the case may be, one class is just 1 unit, okay? But based on the way that that university defines full-time status, we go with that. Just shorthand for us is just 12 units. Typically, this is how you define full-time for us, okay? Finishing in your first year any remedial coursework. Now, who's going to the university right now? Going to be, okay? This typically gets taken care of by the university, getting done with your remediation that first year. If you can't get past remedial writing at a place like UC San Diego within that first year, the university will invite you to leave. So from from the standpoint of a four-year school, they will take care of remediation essentially for us. For anyone that's going to College of the Desert, we want you to try to get through remediation as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Our funder has basically said, those folks at the College Access Foundation of California, they said, you know what, we don't want to be funding folks to just take remediation. We want them to be making real degree progress. So that is why we put the stipulation of getting done with remediation in your first year. And then many of you have been asked to turn in a ton of forms, right? And they're not hard to get. Trust, they're not. Your latest SAR from FAFSA, you've gotten a letter from us or from your matching partner essentially saying that, yes, you're being offered the scholarship. You sign the form and say, yes, I'm going to go ahead and accept your money, okay? Your financial aid award letter, this is another way for us to see what your package is like over at your school, what you're being given. Schedule of classes. How many of you still do not have your fall schedule of classes? Anyone? Okay. And that might be because you're transferring or you're going to a quarter school. Quarter schools are not going to start until maybe the 21st of September. You got a long ways to go. So you still might not be able to send in classes because you just haven't had the chance to sign up for them, right? Grades. This is something that was mentioned a little earlier. We'd like to give you a 2-week window to submit your grades after every term. And again, this is for us to be able to see, did you get a 2.0 or 12 units, okay? If you didn't, and you end up on probation because of low units or a poor GPA, or maybe not a poor GPA, a not so hot GPA, we want to see those university-generated probation letters too, because many times they'll ask you to do some stuff in order to assist you in getting back above a 2.0 at your particular school. We want to see what they're asking you to do. This is new this year. Many of our benefactors want to hear from the folks that are getting money. So we're asking folks who are new to the program to submit thank you letters or emails. You can send an email to this address here saying thank you to whoever matching partner you're getting. I appreciate the money, blah, 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 blah. And that should be fine. Did you have a question?
Oh, yeah. Of course, I'm not getting aid for the summer and stuff, but I finished the summer course. I was wondering, do I have to turn in those grades?
No, for summer courses, the question was, do I have to turn in summer grades? And the answer to that is no. But here's a caveat. Let's say that you had some real difficulty in the spring, and you're kind of like, you know, I'm going to make up these units. Then at that point, if we have that some sort of arrangement like that, you're like, you know, I didn't do so hot in the spring, I'm going to do this in the summer, then we will want to see it. But otherwise, if you're just trying to get ahead and take some units, then don't worry about it. Because we really, typically, we don't fund in the summer. With certain exceptions that are out there, okay? And then we ask you to do all of this stuff, sending stuff in electronically, using the student support at pathwaystosuccess.info email address. This is a Gmail address. So it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to fill up. It's got tons and tons of space for attachments or whatever the case may be. Something that is not here that I haven't put up is the CAR. Anyone know what the CAR is? If we've got the SAR, the Student Aid Report. Anyone know what the CAR is? Yeah, the California Aid Report. How many of you are having difficulty right now getting information about the CAR? Is anyone in that? Okay, you are. We've heard that. Nubia has sort of a guide on how to download the CAR because this is something that's new from our benefactor. They want to know what kind of aid is coming from the state of California. The SAR is the report of stuff from the federal government, and the CAR is for us to kind of see what kind of stuff you're getting in terms of Cal grants, whatever stuff is related to the state of California, okay? I'm going to talk about yes, yeah.
If we're going out of state,
Yes, oh. The question is, if you're going out of state, do you have to do the CAR? The answer to that is no. Yes, because you will be getting no California aid, okay? Academic probation for your school is typically when you fall below a 2.0, okay? Within limits. We tend to follow that as well. If you're below a 2.0, you're technically out of compliance with our program. We should actually be dropping you. But we're not going to do that unless there's some extreme case, and I'm going to get to that next. We'll put you on probation. And probation is, you know, wanting to have that kind of conversation with you about what happened that your GPA is below a 2.0, or what happened to you if you got less than 12 units. Because we know, as I had said earlier, folks have the grades and the desire, maybe not the financial means, but if you're going away for the first time, college, you've got a lot of different things going on in your life, there's transition issues. Those are things that play out that impact this 2.0. We want to figure out what's going on. We want to talk to you about what are some of the circumstances and the dynamics that happen, so we can get a better sense, a better handle of what's going on, and make sure that you get back to a 2.0 after one term of being on probation with us. Okay. Here's sort of the real here's the real serious talk. Does it say Richard? Oh, excuse me real quick. There you go. You back, Richard? Richard, you back? Yeah? Yeah, I'm back. Okay, here we go. Program dismissal. If you get below a 1.5, we're going to probably be dismissing you from the program. This is pretty hard fast from our benefactor. If you get less than 7 units, we'll probably be letting you go from the program. Now here's the thing that's important. We ask you, if you're having to drop a class or even leave school, to talk to us first. Here's a scenario. Let's say that someone has got 12 units and they're really trying to gut out this one class that's worth 4 units, and they're trying to salvage that class. They're just trying to get past it. They put a ton of time into it, and they're like trying to get a C- just to get out of it, just to make sure that they pass it. But the other classes are suffering. The other 8 units that the person has is beginning to suffer. We might have a conversation and say, you know what, if you drop that other class and you just take 8 units, how do you think those 8 units are going to be in terms of grades? They might, if you say that your grades are going to be fantastic with just 8 units, then we might advise you to go ahead and drop that other class. Pick it up at a different time where it's more convenient or there's a better professor. But in the end, you're still going to have 8 units. You're not going to be below 7. Your GPA will probably be above a 2.0. So we'll work with you from a probationary status. Does that make sense? Because sometimes those classes that you need the good grades in are prerequisites for your major, right? And you're just trying to gut out something that you really don't need. It's more like a GE. Does that make sense? We'll have those kinds of conversations. Dropping out or taking a medical leave, make sure that you talk to us too. We have some students who have taken medical leaves of absence from their school for a variety of different reasons. We want to make sure that you're doing that right, so that if you leave your school, there's not going to be something hanging over your head, or you haven't paid a fee, or you haven't done something right. Because let's say that after you leave the school, you want to go to a different school, or you want to get reinstated. If you don't have those things taken care of, you might not be able to reinstate, and you also might not be able to transfer because they're not going to release your transcript to that other school, okay? Also, taking a medical leave. Many students will do this. Students get sick, and we'll also talk to you about possibly getting a tuition refund if you go to a private school. I worked at USC for 6 years, and we had folks, leave every once in a while. Made sure that, if we could, get their tuition back through tuition insurance. Some schools have tuition insurance, particularly the privates, because they're so expensive, okay? So, like I said, if you're going to drop out of school or drop a class, let us know. Are there any questions so far? Everything's good? Okay. What distinguishes us? I kind of alluded to this, where you see people during your high school award ceremony. Someone will shake your hand, hand you a certificate and a check. You'll never hear from them again. That's not what we're about. You heard it from Christina in terms of the forums, trying to figure out what's going on in terms of grades, your transition, your career plan. We're very different because, as I talked about education being economic development, we have a stake in this in terms of an investment, right? We want to make sure that we're getting some return on our investment, essentially. And so that's kind of what makes us different, the student support portion. Christina may be transitioning out of this mentoring piece here, where she works with a lot of businesses and organizations to help put folks in internships and whatnot, matching you with individuals here to further your career objectives. That might be going to someone else soon. But these are the things that we offer to all of our recipients. It's different than some of the other scholarship programs that you might have had some time with. I can speak here from the student services side. That on a number of different vectors, your academic, your personal, your social, and your career life, you should look different from your first year all the way going through to your senior year, right? You could say the same for any other kind of educational process you've been through. As a freshman in high school, you should be a lot different as a senior, right? Through the process you've gone through. That's kind of what we like to do also. We like to take a developmental model in our support with you. So we do a number of different things having to do with skill and personal development. I did a workshop yesterday on college note-taking. The week before, I did one on time management. Next week, I'm going to do something on analytical reading. So that's all skill development pieces in order to kind of bulk up your academic toolkit. Who's new to the program again? Okay, we're going to ask you to do an academic plan. Because the feeling is this: failing to plan is a plan to fail. We want you to get out of school as soon as possible and with a plan in hand. Some schools are beginning to talk about removing folks from school if they change their majors too much as a way of cutting back on the number of students going to school. Those kinds of discussions are happening. Many times, if you're going to a four-year school, you'll say you walk into the engineering department and you say, I want a four-year plan for computer science and engineering. They might point you over to a kiosk with a lot of papers and say, pick up one of the plans over there. And it'll tell you, here's what you get to take your first year, second year, third year, fourth year. And it'll have elective, 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 and GE, GE, GE. It'll tell you this is what you need to do, and in the correct sequence, to go ahead and get out of here in 4 years. That's fine. That's your academic plan. If you scan that to me, or even take a good cell phone picture and send it to that student support email, then I'm confident at that point that you know what you need to do to get out. I'm going to assume and I'm going to continue to encourage you through that process to get to know an academic advisor. The academic advisors can be fantastic allies in your process of getting through school. They can tell you who are some of the better professors. They can tell you about some of the different times and opportunities that exist within your major. They could be fantastic. So yes, you'll have the plan, but I'm going to encourage you to build a relationship with folks in academic advising. Career planning. This is huge. Yes?
Is the academic plan for College of the Desert, it's called Student Education Plan?
That's a student education plan, exactly. At College of the Desert, thank you for reminding me. I'm sorry I forgot that. The student education plan. You will meet with a counselor. You will sign off on it. The person will sign off on it as counselor. And they'll say, these are the classes you need to take in order to facilitate your transfer or your completion of your associates. You get that, then you scan that or take a really good cell phone picture, and then you send it to us. But through that process, I already know you met with an advisor, right? Because you have to get signatures. So it can be a very passive process at a university or a really engaged kind of process at College of the Desert. We want it to be an engaged process all the way around, okay? The career planning and placement, or excuse me, career planning and preparation. This is huge. I used to work at colleges and universities before, and people at the Career Services Center said, if you're walking into the Career Services Center your last year, you're already too late. You should already start thinking about interacting with folks at the Career Services Center, your first year, even to just get sometimes an on-campus job. Many of these places will give you opportunities to get prepared for that next step and possibly get you into internships. How many of you know how many of you know for sure you have to take an internship in your major as part of your collegiate preparation? Yeah? Okay, some of these more prestigious internships that you might want to get, they happen in the summer. And because they're prestigious, you have to be so forward thinking in getting this summer internship that sometimes you're applying around November and December to get the summer internship. Sometimes we got folks coming back to the Valley after 1 year away, and they're here in June and they're saying, I need an internship. At that point, I'm saying, you're a little late. We'll see what we can do, but you're a little late. And we'll say, make sure that you're going to the Career Services Center also, okay? The Orange and Gray program is typically this. We ask you a number of different things according to your year in school. We ask you about your involvement. We ask you about your leadership. We ask you about learning things on your campus, because many of the things that are on campus that you might not take advantage of are things you're already paying for. Why not take advantage of that, okay? We'll ask you stuff around transition, about your roommate, the commute, leaving the Valley. What was it like going back home during Thanksgiving when all of a sudden you had to live under a roof with the same old rules that you had in high school, right? What's that like? And believe it or not, I'm going to encourage you to travel abroad. Anyone know why I'm going to encourage you to travel abroad? Anyone planning on going abroad? Good. Anyone know why I'm going to encourage you to travel abroad? Go ahead. Gain experience. And what's great is that your financial aid package, maybe not necessarily through us, but through the university, they'll adjust it for you to go abroad. And I talked about this whole idea of the 4-year plan, right? Getting out, whatever the case may be. We find that students who travel abroad are even more focused and better prepared to get out of a school in a good set amount of time if they travel abroad, because they have to know their academic plan, they have to know their academic schedule, and know what fits in when they travel abroad. So there's a high correlation between traveling abroad and getting out of school quickly. That's why I'm going to tell you, go abroad if you get a chance, because you'll never get the chance to travel as a student, more or less on the cheap, seeing all the cool things you get to see, while at the same time getting out of school sooner or with a better plan. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're applying stuff we know about students in an intentional way with our program here, okay? Here's the mentoring and advising students. Christina has typically been able to create volunteer participation opportunities for you to build your resume, to get that leadership experience, develop professional skills. She talked about dressing for success. We did a resume workshop. We did a number of different things. In fact, folks who went to the Dressing for Success workshop were given an opportunity to pick a new wardrobe down at Best Friend's Closet, down by Subway, down over here, where a lot of folks bring in suits and dresses and things like that that they've discarded, but they're high quality. And they get fitted to folks, and it becomes an opportunity to get like a suit or an outfit for a job, okay? That was something Christina hooked up. Connect folks with professionals in business in a lot of different areas. And again, like I said, some internship opportunities, where this stuff here with the orange and gray program and whatnot are things that are compulsory. These are things that you have to do. Things with MOS are optional. If you do want to get involved with that, make sure that you call Christina and contact her via email, okay? So here's kind of what we expect, right? I told you a lot about what this program is, why it's different, why we're getting $1 bazillion a year for the next 10 years, what the plan is. The plan is to educate folks, and how we're trying to do what we're doing so that we are not just giving you money, but preparing you for the future economy of this valley, okay? We want you to take advantage of all the different opportunities that are available to you, okay? With the skill building and the workshops, some of the social events that we have, internship opportunities, take advantage of the ones that we have here, but also utilize those opportunities. Check out those offices at your campuses, okay? Christina had said that we do have calendar events already posted up on our website. And here's the thing, through our forums, our emails, even through maybe some of the webcam stuff that we're doing now, you'll be in contact with us. Email, phone, website, whatever the case may be. We encourage you to do that. We really do. Yes?
Like you were saying about some like the events, is the webcam gonna be available like for out of town to listen to some of it?
There's a good question about events who are out of town, or for folks who are out of town. What school are you going to?
Going to community college in Arizona.
Okay, you're going to Arizona. Is this your first year with us? Second year. Okay, folks who are returning to the program this year. Last year, not this year, but last year, we had an event requirement, right? You have to go to 2 events. We are not doing that this year. And the reason behind that is this. It seemed counterintuitive to have folks in a need-based scholarship program have to put up money to pay for gas or a flight to attend an event here. Seems just kind of counterintuitive, okay? Now, we feel that the opportunities that you get here are still valuable, but we don't want to make it a burden and a requirement, okay? We want it to be able to be something that if you have the time, you can take advantage and come by to do that. Now, certainly the socials, some of those things are on the winter time, and whatever the case may be, we will still have those, and hopefully folks will be back here for winter break, unless you're fortunate enough to be traveling abroad or whatever the case may be. But we'll still do that, but there is no requirement this year, okay? All right. Folks, are there any questions right now? This is really kind of the nuts and bolts of kind of why we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing here in Pathways. Not just cutting you a check, but kind of more than that, the value added piece. Okay?
Morning. My name is Nubia Madrigal, and I basically oversee the money portion of your scholarship. I have been with the organization for approximately 3 years now, and I can definitely say I love this, one of the best jobs I've ever had. And it's been a growing experience. We've grown a lot within this past 2 years. So I'm going to start off by handing out 2 forms. Can I have all my quarter students raise up your hand if you guys are in a quarter system? What I'm handing out are financial calendars. It tells you when I will be passing out all your checks, when I will be mailing out all your checks, what you have to do in order to receive your checks, and when you have to turn that in. Okay. Semester. 2, 3. 1, 2. Is there anybody here who doesn't know? And that is not a good sign. What school do you go to? Okay, semester. Let's go ahead and start off. I'm going to start off by reviewing a couple of things that Alex probably already covered, but somehow when I mention it, when I review it, it seems to make a little bit more sense. So you guys all know you've received a scholarship from Pathways to Success and or one of our matching partners. There's 2 different ways of receiving the scholarship. It's either it's all from Pathways to Success funds, or it's a matching scholarship, which means half of the funds come from us, half of the funds come from your matching partner whom select you. And but you still all fall under our program, and you still all have to abide by our rules and guidelines. One major thing that students always get confused by is the whole up to thing. For all community colleges scholarships that we hand out, you can receive up to $2,500 for the academic year. There's a few that will receive a 2-year scholarship, which that means it's up to $5,000. It goes the same for university and 4-year colleges. The most you can ever receive is up to $5,000, or for 2 years, it's up to $10,000. And a lot of people don't fully understand the whole up to. And the main reason that is because we are, after all, a need-based scholarship. When everybody came to the table, all our matching partners and Path to Success, we all agreed to make sure we only hand out as much as you need, basically. And it goes that way with all the universities and colleges. You can't really receive more than what you actually need for that academic year. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit on that by explaining the whole COA. As you can see, COA stands for cost of attendance. How many of you already know that? Cost of attendance. How many know how much it costs to attend the school you guys are currently at? Every school has a predetermined number that has already been calculated. It's not a number that we decide or they decide. This number has already been decided. And it has a lot of different variables if you're living on campus or off campus or with your parents. So for example, for all my College of the Desert students who are dependent living at home, your cost of attendance is approximately $12,000. It's a little bit less, but we're going to round it off to $12,000. And for those that are going to 4-year universities, that goes up drastically. If you're going to a private, that goes even way higher. Within this cost of attendance, everything's already pre-calculated. Your tuitions, your fees, your room and board, your books, supplies, meals, and all your other miscellaneous expenses, and your meal plans as well are in there. So one other thing that you also have to remember, since we are need-based, we do subtract your EFC. The EFC stands for your estimated family contribution. It's the number that FAFSA came up with. Nobody ever agrees upon it. It's the federal government. I know, it's like the IRS. Nobody likes taxes. So basically, you're stuck with whatever number they calculate here for you. After you subtract your EFC from your cost of attendance, you come up with something called your financial need. Everyone's number is different. Everyone's number is different, and everyone's case is a little bit different. Okay? The only way you can actually change this formula out, EFC normally it is what it is. I've never really heard of FAFSA changing their EFC after they've determined it, is your cost of attendance. So for example, if you were, for some strange reason, become ill or you're in an accident, your medical expenses are going to increase drastically within that 1 year. Your cost of attendance can actually be changed, and you have to dispute that, and you have to appeal that with your financial aid office. It's not something that you do with us. It's something that you do at your school with the financial aid department. Another scenario is, for example, what if your parents, become unemployed or get laid off? If you let that know, your financial aid department will also readjust it. But that's something that you do with them, not with us. So what does that mean? So your need must always equal your aid. You can basically never receive more financial aid than what your actual need is. So remember that formula. It's extremely important because sometimes when you go to school, you forget this. And that's what fluctuates whatever it is that you're receiving at the end when you get your checks. What exactly is financial need? It comes in many different forms: Pell Grants, Cal Grants, university grants, work study, scholarships, and one minor thing that people don't realize that comes into it are loans. If you get loans, it's considered aid, and it will go against the formula of your financial need, okay? Anybody have any questions? Am I going too fast for anyone? Any questions? Okay. So let's come up with this cute little scenario. Congratulations to everyone. You are now you've been awarded a PTS scholarship for up to $5,000, okay? Your cost of attendance to go to your school is going to be $20,000. And to make my life easier and this little formula easy, your EFC is 0. So your need equals your cost of attendance. Now, you've been awarded a Pell Grant. Does anybody know the max amount of money that you can receive as a Pell Grant?
500.
What is it?
5,500.
Very, very close.
It's like 5,000.
It's 5,550 to be exact. It's really sad that I know that number, right? But it's a really flat number even. But basically up to 5,550 is what you can receive as a Pell Grant. That's the max for the year. And that is a need-based grant. So this is from the federal government. Pell Grants are from the federal government. And then you also receive, let's say you received a Cal Grant. Cal Grant's from the state of California. In order for you to receive a Cal Grant, there's two different things they know. They need to know if you're need-based, what your need is. And they also need to know your GPA. It is also fluctuates by your GPA. So it's a very good thing to keep your grades up because depending on what it is what you get from Cal Grant. And you can either be awarded a Cal Grant A, Cal Grant B, or Cal Grant C, and that fluctuates. So it depends on what their status is and what their GPA is of what you receive. But let's say for this scenario, you did an amazing job, you have really good grades, and you receive a $10,000 scholarship. $10,000 grant as a Cal Grant. Now let's say you also got like a university grant or a loan or a scholarship, whatever it is that you want to put into this formula, and you received a 1,000, university grants. Universities also give grants. So let's say you received that $1,000. So when we subtract your Pell Grant, your Cal Grant, and your university grant out of your $20,000, all you have left is $4,000. This is all the need you have left. But you were awarded a Path to Success scholarship for up to $5,000. I will then have to reduce your scholarship to $4,000. That's the up to part. This only happens to very few students. Doesn't happen very often, but it will happen. So I am letting you right off the bat, I do look at those numbers, and universities will not give you more. They will send me money back if you go above. A quick little scenario, let's say you had that as a loan. It's not a university grant, it's a loan. They will cross out that loan, remove this, and then put the whole $5,000 against it, and then the school won't return me any money. They automatically do that. So sometimes people calling me, asking me where's my money, because they think they're getting the loan and the scholarship. It doesn't work that way. And if they don't catch you in this one semester, they will eventually catch you, and they can go back as many years as they want and fluctuate your need. And they say, well, we've already over-awarded you this semester, so this semester we have to adjust you. And they can and they will do that. So any questions up to now?
Do you look at other scholarships that we get?
Yes. Yes.
So if we're getting just outside scholarships, you're going to take our this pathways money away if we have to put?
Basically, yeah, we can do that. And it's not because we want to necessarily gyp you or we want to like say, don't do it. It's because if we do that, they say, for example, you didn't get the loan and it still has to be reduced. The federal government will reduce this to $4,000, and then they get redistributed to the whole, could get redistributed to any part of the United States. Our program specializes only on helping students from the Coachella Valley. So if we have that additional 1,000, we will replug that money into the Coachella Valley. And we have that understanding with all of our matching partners to do so. We match with over 21 different organizations. So we are basically here with the same purpose. We just want to help those that are in your position. Students, for example, that have the Millennium Gates Foundation Scholarship, they don't really need our aid. They don't need our scholarship because they have everything pretty much paid for as well. So it's not that we want to gyp you, it's that we're just trying to keep our pot of money here for the Coachella Valley. And we can discuss your case afterwards if we need to. Okay? Any other questions? So with this said, if you were awarded a $5,000 scholarship, you can only receive one Pathways to Success scholarship. Even if you received the scholarship, if the Boys and Girls selected you, you can't also receive the Cal State Foundation one kind of deal. You could only receive one. And I know that sounds like, off, and some people are like, well, why is it they could only receive one? I want to receive two. Well, before Pathways to Success came along, the scholarship amounts in the of the Coachella Valley were a lot lower. They weren't these $5,000 scholarships, and they weren't these $2,500 scholarships for community college. So we really raised our bar when it came to giving out the amounts. And so we felt that if we were able to award you, that's pretty much a pretty good scholarship. If you get a Cal Grant or a Pell Grant, you pretty much have everything covered, and we're trying to definitely reduce you or avoid from you getting any loans. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. So what do you have to do in order to get these, this money, this scholarship on time? There is program expectations that Alex, I'm sure, has already gone through. You will have to submit all of this, and you will have to maintain that 2.0 and above and full-time status at all times. Don't drop any classes, and if you do so, make sure we do know that ahead of time. And even if you drop classes after the fact, and we know that you got lower units, and you did not communicate that with us ahead of time, that will definitely disqualify you to get a renewable scholarship.
But that's only if you're sitting at, I'd say anything less than 15 units, right?
Anything that's considered full-time, yeah. So
okay.
if you're at 15 units and you decide to drop your PE class,
4 units, and you drop to 11,
then
you
you're,
should notify.
yes.
Exactly. But if I drop from 19 to 15 units,
And you should be okay.
so yeah, because I did that spring quarter, but
Yeah, then you're fine. Then we probably weren't too concerned over you, especially if your GPA was still high. You should be okay. But it's when you drop below that 12 unit, you're not showing academic progress, and we are funding your education. We want to make sure you graduate on time and you're not there for 10 years. So if you're only passing 5 units at a time, it's going to be a very long time before you graduate. So we want at least 12 units. It's not that much. It's not that hard. You guys can do it. I did it. Your senior year, you also don't want to be taking 20 units, so you want to make sure you stay on track. What you should have submitted by now for that fall 2012 check. You need to submit your student aid report from FAFSA. You need to submit your fall schedule with 12 units or more. You need your financial aid letter. If you don't have the final one, give me at least a tentative one from your university, and your thank you letters. Your thank you letters can either be submitted via email or you can mail it in to us. It's up to you guys. I'm not really making any restrictions on it. If you don't want to buy a card, just type something out real quickly. You don't have to actually spend money. One thing that's not on here, and it's brand new because our funder just added it, is your CAR, your California Aid Report. So just how the federal government has a SAR, we also now want your CAR. It's something new that our funders are now requesting, and we have to ask for it as well. Okay. So how does the whole distribution of checks work? Well, basically, this is how it starts. It starts with you submitting all your documents to the student support email. Please do not send them to me. I don't actually input this information anymore. Make sure you send it to the student support email. The best I can do is to forward it to student support email, but please don't rely on me doing so. It's 430 of you guys. Imagine if you guys all decided to do that. I'll be spending my whole day forwarding emails. Make sure you submit that to them. And also, the second thing that counselors do, oh, one minor thing I forgot. One major important document that you need to submit is your student award agreement, the one that either your scholarship matching partner gave you, organization, or us. That is basically the form that tells me where you're going to school and who to give the check out to. If I don't have that form, I have no idea where to send your check to. The second step on this list is actually being cleared by your counselor at Pathways to Success. They will give me a list of those who are cleared for me to mail out the check to. They don't let me know you're cleared. I can't send that check out. The very third step is I send out checks. I used to send checks out every Friday because I figured, you know, it's not going to take that long. I'll send them out every Friday as soon as you guys are done, you know, getting cleared. Well, what happened during spring semester last year is I was sending out checks in June. For some strange reason, we wouldn't get your grades, we wouldn't get your next fall schedule, and kids are not getting cleared till June. That's not going to happen this year. I have 3 disbursement dates. You have 3 chances to get cleared at the beginning of your quarter or semester. That way you guys can get your funds ahead of time. The fourth part is after your check gets sent out to your schools will receive it. Give it some time to actually arrive there. Give it some time to actually get processed. The average time after I send out the check, the dates on your calendar are the day I actually mail them out. It's not when your school will receive it. So give them approximately 2 weeks. If you're at UCLA or Cal State San Bernardino or UCR, they take a little bit longer than that. You're looking at 4 weeks, 3 weeks, okay? After your school has received your money, they will place them onto your student account. And then from there, they distribute that to you. I definitely recommend that you get direct deposit versus them having to print out a physical check to you, okay? And make sure you have your mailing address correct with your school. If you're going out to school out in like Oklahoma, you don't want your check to be mailed out to here in California and have your parents have to like then go to the bank and deposit that for you to get access to your funds. Make sure you have your mailing address correct because then you won't receive your money as well. I've had a student in the case that was calling me, asking me for their check. The school was telling me they dispersed it already, but it was back here. It was back at home, not with you guys at your school, okay? If you have student accounts, if you have direct deposit, they automatically place that into your bank account, so then you will have access to it right away as well, okay? We also like for you to think of our check as a reimbursement. So what does that mean? We like you to plan ahead to pay or defer your fees when they are due. You cannot wait for a check to arrive. Our checks have specific dates when they get released, and you have to give or allow the school some time to actually process that check into your student account. You have to make sure if your fees are due ahead of time before school starts, you have to plan accordingly. You have to get that paid. So here's a little scenario, and usually this is where students don't understand this part, is everyone in your school has a college student account. Does everybody know where their student accounts is at their, okay. So there's certain direct costs that every university or college must get paid before you even start classes usually. Those direct costs are usually tuition and fees, your room and board if you're actually living on campus. If you're off campus, that's not part of it. So these costs must get paid no matter what. Your books, you pay those on your own. Your supplies, you purchase those on your own. So this cost must get paid. This bill must get paid. So for the scenario, your direct costs are approximately $17,000. Your Pell Grant and your Cal Grant, because they're federal and state money, usually get there right away. So your $5,000 Pell Grant goes into your account, your Cal Grant goes into your account. Well, you still owe this $2,000. Your school is going to be asking you and billing you for these $2,000. They're going to be telling you that if you don't pay this, they're going to drop your courses. You have to get that paid somehow. I know you still have your $5,000 scholarship from us, but in reality, that doesn't get there till after your school starts. Once your check arrives to your school and it gets processed, then at that point, we will pay that $2,000 if you hadn't paid it already, and then you will get your reimbursed $3,000. Some schools allow you to wait If you let them know I have a scholarship coming, you don't have to pay that $2,000. It's by school and case-by-case scenario. But if you don't, you have to get that paid, and then once we send the check to your school, they'll either give you the $3,000 or the full $5,000 to you. Does that make any sense? Okay. So to review, the very first thing you guys have to do is what? Submit all your documents to where? To the student support email, okay? Second part, counselors will then review your accounts, make sure you've submitted everything, and will give me a cleared list for me to mail out your checks, okay? After I mail out your checks, yeah, do you guys like the pictures from Alex? To keep you guys awake, because this is so boring. After I send them out, please give your school some time to process that check. If you're lucky, it's around 2 weeks. For the most of you, I hope it's like 2 weeks. But there is budget cuts, and I've noticed that staffing has gone down, so it varies from school to school now. The very last thing is the money actually get placed into your account and they distribute it to you. Okay? Any questions at all? You guys have been like my easiest crowd so far. Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, so you're gonna start sending checks the 17th?
That is correct. I start inputting checks. I start mailing out checks this 17th. It's like 2 weeks away. It's like, I don't even know.
So the only way like your scholarship would be adjusted is if your cost of attendance, the aid you're receiving is higher than your cost of attendance.
Yes. If you're receiving above already, above what it costs to go to that school, it has to get readjusted. Every organization out there is pretty much going to do the same. And your school will not allow you to receive more aid. And what the schools are doing now, basically, they will remove your Cal Grants and your Pell Grants, the free state money, and then use up all our money first. Use up all your scholarship money first, basically. So we like to avoid that and keep more money here to help out other students from here. Okay.
They usually get rid of your loans first, right?
Huh?
They usually get rid of the loans.
They usually do get rid of your loans first, and then you're not even aware of that. You're calling me because you're like, you got a loan and the scholarship. So they will cross out your loans and put our money there. So double check your student account before you give me a call.
What about work study? Like in our packet, they offer me work study, but you either accept it or decline it, and I accept it, but it's not for sure thing.
Mhm.
Will this scholarship cross it out?
I do not cross it out. Your financial aid departments do cross it out. It's considered technically aid. I don't because of what that same reason you said. I don't know for a fact you're actually going to be able to get a job on campus and use that up. So I don't count it against you.
So what if my school expenses is around $27,000 and I have total financial aid 24? I will still get reduced from the scholarship.
To $3,000. Does your work study include that $3,000? That
It includes $3,500.
from the work study?
Yeah.
I would send the full amount because if your total aid is $24,000 and that includes your work study, I subtract your work study and then see what your actual need is because for all that I know, you're not going to get work study, and then that gives you the liberty of saying, I don't really have to work, kind of deal. And that's even for you, and then we expect better grades, right? Any questions? So thank you so much. And if you guys have any questions, if you guys need to contact me, and the only reason you guys should be contacting me if you have questions regarding the amount of money that I'm going to be sending you after I review your I have to have your financial aid letter from me in order to do so. And if you are missing your student award agreement, I still disperse those. If you're missing your student award agreement, do not contact me, ask me if everything's been submitted already. I will not be able, I can check, but I can't do that. It's 430 of you guys. And so that's way too many of you guys for me to continually check. So only if you are missing your student award agreement or if you have questions regarding your financial aid packages or what you're going to be receiving from us.
Can we check today if we had that or no?
If you have what?
A student agreement, like see if we have everything in check.
you can check with me if you know you're missing your student award agreement, if you know for a fact you've never received it. If you need to know if everything's been submitted, you have to contact Alex and Christina.
Okay, going on that student award agreement, what if you're in partnership with another scholarship? Do we still have to do one for you for pathways?
The agreement that your partner gave you, that your matching partner gave you, should say to return it to us.
Because
If you gave it, who was your partner matching?
and then
Inland Empire. Okay.
because I wasn't aware that I had received it again
Uh-huh.
for pathways, so I sent my information to them because they on the letter that they sent us, we have to send them our class schedule and the letter that they give us. So I sent it to them, and they returned it back to me saying that to contact you guys.
We emailed you one because, yeah, Inland Empire was a little bit tricky. So we emailed you one, and you should have, you need to check your email and look for that student award agreement. But we did email you one.
The student award agreement. So if I'm renewing mine, I mean, well, this is my second year with it.
Mhm.
Is it the one we got last year?
Yeah, you don't have to redo it.
Oh,
Unless you're switching schools. If you're switch schools, I need to know as soon as possible. If you switch schools throughout the middle of the year, I need to know at least 6 to 8 weeks before your school starts. If you tell me after the fact, I've already printed out your check and possibly even mailed it out to your school. And just because the counselor looks at your new fall schedule, sometimes the name of the school is not visible when you send out that schedule, and there's no way of us really knowing that you've changed schools on us. If I've had a case where a student didn't inform me they changed schools, they changed community college, they were out and about, and they decided to come back to College of the Desert. I did not know. I had to send the school. I sent the check over to that school. They processed it, and it was just sitting there, and then the student contacted me, so then I had to request a refund. By the time I got that money back, it was the end of the semester. So please let me know at least 2 months before you switch schools, like as soon as you know, so I can make that switch. I print checks ahead of time. I start inputting that information ahead